We are learning new information about a shooting in Southwest Portland that left one person hurt and another arrested. An investigation reveals there was a month of tension between the suspect and the victim before Thursday's shooting. Fox 12's Kanayama has the latest.
A gunshot rang out Thursday afternoon behind the Islamic School of Portland on Capitol Highway. Police responded and found the victim, who is recovering with a gunshot wound to his abdomen. The suspect was later found and arrested. An investigation reveals more details on what exactly led up to the shooting and the relationship between the victim and the suspect. As described in court documents, after police found and helped the victim, Michael Zakarne, they learned that the suspect, Noureddin Dib, was on the phone with 911 dispatch. Officers asked to have the call transferred to Portland police. The suspect told the officer he was inside the school armed with a gun. He then followed the officer's request to leave the school and leave the gun behind. When he emerged from the building, officers took him into custody. According to the documents, they found a gun, ammunition, and a knife inside the school. The victim later told investigators from his hospital bed that he had known the shooting victim for about a month. He said they both attend the same mosque and their children attend the same school. The victim says their first encounter happened when the suspect complained about his driving during a school drop-off. It escalated from there on several more occasions when they continued to cross paths. The day before the shooting, the victim says the suspect gave him the middle finger. The next day, the victim approached the suspect about using the vulgar gesture in front of children. A verbal argument erupted between the two, and that's when the victim says he was shot by the suspect. Investigators say the victim ran away to a nearby gas station, followed by the suspect, who then ran into the school building. The suspect faces several charges, including attempted murder in the second degree. Anna Katayama, Good Day, Oregon.